Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV in a new edition of our online interview series. We want to get today from Premier American Uranium. Colin Healey is here with us, the CEO and update of this fantastic uranium company. As you know, we are really uranium bulls. We love uranium. And of course, I want to disclose that I'm a shareholder of the company. Hey, welcome and good morning, Colin. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm doing really, really well.
Good, perfect. Glad to hear that. Except the uranium price, this is something where we both were saying in our upfront talk already, that could be better, but we come to that in a second, I would say. First of all, your fabulous company. The interesting thing of it was, I think in January 16th, you secured the Part 3 drilling permit for the Cebolleta project in New Mexico, which I think is a very important milestone for this year's exploration program.
It is really important optically, working with the regulators to get that permit. It's always a positive thing. That permit was one that was applied for back in March of 2024. And the purpose of that permit was to go out and do some confirmation drilling to get to a resource. So we had really accelerated that timeline. By the end of June of 2024, we had a 23.5 million pound resource on our Cebolleta project in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. So that permit, to use it effectively, we will have to amend it to go out and drill in some locations that we think could be augmentative to the resource. But the front end of this year for us is going to be very Cebolleta news focused. And what we said when we announced that permit is, in bigger picture, we're going to have preliminary economics on this asset by the middle of this year. And, we're pushing to get that done, closer to in the first half of the year than the second. So mm-hmm. I think that, and alongside that is going to come a mineral resource update on the project that shouldn't even require additional drilling. We had an area on that project called Willie P, where we had a bunch of historic drilling, and that drill data wasn't digitized yet, and it wasn't included in the prior resource model. So we'll be able to feed that in through a desktop exercise to very inexpensively bring out a resource update and preliminary economics on that project in the first half of this year. So we're really excited.
Wow, super. So first half of this year, as you said, like a PEA already. Do I get that right? That maybe Cebolleta is a project that will go back into production because it's an old mine, isn't it?
Excuse me. From that project area, there was some open pit historic and underground historic production, mm-hmm. And those permits are controlled by another party, and some of that area of historic production is in the reclamation stage. But yeah, this is a historically producing from our claim boundaries, historic production, both underground and open pit, and mm-hmm. we think that that de-risks the project in a few ways. I mean, one of the things, when you're looking at preliminary economics or early stage, we've only had a resource since June of 2024. One of the things that you have to think about is metallurgy and process. Mm-hmm. And with historic production from both the underground and the open pit come historic metallurgical recoveries and certain things that de-risk those mine units. Now, we haven't done a bunch of our own testing to reinforce that data, but I think it's proven to be quite reliable. We relied on some historic drilling, substantial historic drilling, and databases for our resource, and we did do some confirmation drilling. Was done on the project in 2023 with extremely close reconciliation to historic data, which is why we were able to get the resource sooner. So I think that it's an advantage that there's been historic production there. And we've got 23.5 million pounds in similar sands or the same sands to go after. So I think the PEA, in some respects, is less risky because we have historic production from these areas.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean you know more in how can I say that you know more precise where to look at and what to do. And I think with the PEA, that would be a real big thing to de-risk the whole thing really massively, right?
Yeah, and I think so. And I think at this stage, when you're thinking about how to spend money and how to justify spending additional money, I think it's really important to show a mining concept and that mining concept is worth investing in. So the idea of being able to pull together a PEA, put out a mining concept that the market can look at, understand how it's going to be mined, and then go out on the basis of that and expand the resource. And every incremental pound that we get will just, potentially complement that economic model. I think that's really the way that you drive value for shareholders.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what we're going to do.
Super. Okay, so New Mexico, I would say, is really it's a great work program for this year. We wait until summer for the PEA for sure. Also, what's going on in Wyoming, because you are there also in the Great Divide Basin, and I think that's one of the top shots for uranium, right?
Yeah, Wyoming's going to be, again, we drilled 41 holes in Wyoming at our Cyclone project. 36 of those were at the Cyclone Rim target. That project's divided into the Cyclone Rim and Osborne Draw targets. And the majority of 2024 drilling was focused on the Cyclone Rim target. We were successful in establishing a half-mile corridor of uranium mineralization that met with meeting resource cutoff and GT cutoff grades. So we have a bunch of holes in there that kind of defined a nice area that's open in most directions. So when we go back to Cyclone Rim, which most likely won't be in 2025, we're pretty excited to go back and fill that in. I think we'll drill that aggressively in 2026. But at Cyclone, the project, most of the drilling in 2025 is going to be focused on this Osborne Draw target to the east of it, which incidentally sits about 15 miles to the west of Your Energy's operating Lost Creek mine and wellfield and processing facility, and about the same distance from the Sweetwater mill that Uranium Energy just bought. So that project is becoming more strategic for us as producers accumulate, processing facilities within a tight radius of us. I think that those producers are going to eventually need to backfill a pipeline of production. And I think as we develop and go out there and drill to define a resource at this asset, it's going to become more and more strategic. But to answer your question, we're permitted to go out and drill, I think, 25 or 26 holes at the Osborne Draw target. We were able to drill 5 holes at Osborne Draw in 2024 because we were pretty efficient at the Cyclone Rim target. And we were able to go over there towards the end of the program last year. And 4 out of the 5 holes hit uranium mineralization above cutoff, or hit uranium mineralization. At least a couple of those were above the cutoff grades that are generally used for resource in the area, and over a mile apart. So it was very sporadic drilling because we only did 4 holes, but very promising, and we're excited to get over there and drill some more this year. And we're also, so that has to start in July because of seasonal restrictions for drilling. So the front end is going to be of our year is going to be mostly Cebolleta, New Mexico news around that PEA and mineral resource update. And the second half of the year will be, at least from July to October, we'll be drilling in Wyoming at that Osborne Draw target.
Okay, super. But you have also the third one is in Colorado, the Uravan Mineral Belt. You have several projects there, or land areas. So what is going on in Colorado this year, or would you say that is something more for the distant future?
Yeah, we're working the New Mexico and Wyoming projects with physical on the ground programs this year. The Colorado assets continue to be strategic for us. Both the Atkinson Mesa and Monogram Mesa projects, both 5 million pounds of historic uranium production, over 20 million pounds of historic vanadium production from each of those. But as of now, we're really focused on driving news from New Mexico and Wyoming. And we're kind of keeping those as strategic assets that we think we'll be able to also approach as we gather more data and just design programs around them. I think Colorado's a great jurisdiction for uranium vanadium production. And even though we're not working those projects, I consider them an important part of the portfolio.
Okay, super. Then, of course, the question after the DeepSeek shock from China, I would say it's really fancy because there's a hedge fund behind that little company. And the world already thought, oh, we do not need any more uranium. This makes all no sense because AI is really not working and China can do it for $6 million. I think it's a joke, to be honest, because I do not believe what they said. So let's put it from another perspective. As you are or you have been a uranium analyst, what is your view on the uranium market? Honestly, I also do not understand those $69 per pound in the spot market. Makes no sense to me because we are in a heavy deficit still and we stay in the deficit. So what's your take on that?
I think you're highlighting all the key points. I think the demand supply fundamentals have been extremely bullish for years. Inventory has buffered the price. In most people's models, I was bullish as a uranium analyst on uranium price, and AI wasn't really a big factor in that. Uranium market's been undersupplied for 7 or 8 years, and inventory was the buffer there. And part of my thesis was always, the reactor plan proposed and under construction pipeline and the reactor life extensions that were going to cause us to go further into deficit. And that was before we started talking about SMRs or talking about AI and how big tech really seems to want to be aligned with clean energy. And I think that makes sense. For me, I've been saying the most important factor with respect to big tech is that they have deep pockets and will be able to build SMRs and nuclear projects and support them and really create an analog for the construction of reactors. New tech, new generation reactors don't have a long track record yet or history of operation. And you really de-risk the investment decision for traditional infrastructure builders like utilities by having big tech go out and build these. So I think AI is important. All energy demand is equally going to put pressure on the construction of new reactors to be, the climate goals of these over 30 countries to triple nuclear capacity by 2050. I think that, if we're even marginally successful at that kind of a build out, we have an extremely bullish case for uranium midterm, long-term, and near-term. So to me, AI is just augmentative to a bull thesis that I already had for an undersupplied market. I agree that the price is too low to fully recognize what the incentive price needs to be to build new mines at the higher marginal cost of uranium production. So I think that trying to figure out how the timing of that plays out for a higher uranium price is difficult. But I think the price action will be severe when it happens. And uranium prices have always been frustrating because of these spikes and these retracements. But in past situations, the supply response has come and kind of corrected from time to time the uranium demand, or Fukushima caused a huge correction in demand. But in this cycle, we've got just a fantastic pipeline of new and planned reactors, and we've got the potential for SMR construction to really shift that demand curve in a way that we never saw in previous cycles. So I think it's higher uranium prices for longer, and we just have to endure a schizophrenic spot market for a little while.
Absolutely. Well, I see it the same way. I'm also in for higher spot prices. Let's see when that happens. My feeling is sooner than later, because we need to refill a lot from this year onwards because the contracting was falling over the cliff. Last but not least, the last question here for you is, are you financed for this year, meaning for all the work you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important things about, one of the biggest mandates that we have at Premier is building the portfolio through acquisition. So as we work towards, we have a pipeline of targets that we can't talk that much about, but most likely, if we were to raise money, it would be alongside an acquisition that we think is augmentative. For the programs that I talked about, we have the cash to finance or to fund our drilling in Wyoming and our PEA and resource update. So the timing of the next financing, we're not in production, so there'll be a financing at some point. But I think that we're going to do everything that we can to align that with an event that adds value to the company. As you know, we have extremely strong and supportive shareholders in Sagem Cove, ISO Energy, Mega Uranium, and again, one of the main reasons that I wanted to be a part of this group and this company was that team and that backing gives us an advantage and gives our other shareholders an advantage when investing in PUR.
Fantastic. Super. That was a great final word. Thank you very much, Colin. Wish you all the best, and I have a good feeling that we talk very soon here.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Colin Healey, the CEO of Premier American Uranium, and you heard it. Well, uranium, the price on the spot market is under pressure, but important is what has the company to do and what are they doing, and they have fantastic projects in 3 areas, and I think also New Mexico is the one which is really hot now, becoming a PEA, getting a new mineral resource estimate, and this is really driving shareholder value here, but also with Colorado and also Wyoming, that helps a lot. And for the future, I think the company has a super setup. And don't forget, I just heard a little bit here from Colin saying there is something in the making, probably, hopefully in the near-term future with acquisitions, and the company is growing and drilling, and there will be good news releases. So really make sure you have a look at this wonderful company. I'm a shareholder already. You maybe should too when you believe in uranium. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.